Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am back with a Challenge a Crafty Friend card, and this time Julia and I decided that we were going to make a box card with the theme Christmas Joy. So for my card I am using the Snow Play from Hello Bluebird. I got this stamp set last year and I don't really think that I have used it this year yet, so it was time to take it again and to have some fun with it. I'm going to color with my Copic markers, so I am stamping it out onto Neenah using my Gina K Design Amalgam ink. And my ink is getting really dry. I have said it a few times before, but I just am repeating it because it's not the stamp set that is causing the fact that I'm stamping it multiple times. It's just because I cannot get a refill at the moment. So yeah, but it works. It works. So I'm going to color it in using my Copic markers, and for today's card I'm going to use some really bright colors, so a bit non-traditional, but I had a lot of fun and I think it works perfectly with the background that I'm going to create on my box, so that's really handy. And I'm also keeping the coloring really simple. Both reindeers will get the same colors, the penguins will get the same colors. There will be enough going on that I don't need to invent new colors or use a lot of colors to have an impact. So that's what I'm doing here. And I'm first adding my darkest color. If I have a mid-tone, then it's time for the mid-tone and then the lightest. And if I need some more depth or some darker colors, I just go over it again until I'm happy. I'm going to use the matching dies to cut everything out, and once that's done, I am going to add some details onto these images. So I'm using my Stickles, I'm using my white jelly roll pen and my black glaze pen to add to these critters, because I'm going to make a box card. If everything that I wanted to add from Stickles and stuff like that would be in the back, that's really handy. But if you are working with the dimension pieces in between your box and you want to add lots of details onto all those elements that you add there, then it's really hard because it hasn't a sturdy back. So then it's really handy to do the Stickles, the glossy accents, etc. In the beginning before you add everything. So I'm adding some details onto the scarves, I'm adding Stickles to the hats, some glossy accents to the lights and the berries, and the envelope. And then I will use some black glaze pen as well to the eyes of my critters, just to add something. And once that's done, I'm going to lay everything aside to dry, and then I'll start on my box card. So for my box, I'm using the Scalloped box card pop-up from Fawn, and I have die cut it from Neenah 110 to have a really sturdy box. But something that I really recommend is using your scoreboard once more to crease it a bit more, because sometimes when you're using thick paper it can sort of rip a bit when you fold it over, but when you use your scoreboard and you just crease it a bit more, then that is less affecting your paper when you are curving it or when you are folding it over. So that's handy to know. And now I'm going to ink blend on my background. So my two box pieces, I want to have a really bright and fun winter scene. So I'm using my favorite, cracked pistachio, and then peacock feathers I will also add. But the idea is really having a wintry, cold feel with some lovely colors. And that one piece that is going to stand up for the back of my box, I am going to add the the peacock feathers to just have it a bit colder on the top and then going towards the cracked pistachio. So at this stage I decided that I wanted to use my Starry Sky stencil to add to my back of my box. So I am masking everything off, and I'm taking that stencil and I'm going to add some Moonstone Nuvo Glimmer paste. So I'm making sure that I'm masking everything off that doesn't need to have any paste on there. And I'm also using my purple tape on the top to keep it in place, but also if you frame the piece that you want to add some paste to, you know where you have to stop and you're not wasting your paste, which is really handy. So that's also why I have added that purple tape right underneath this piece. And then before I continue, I'm first going to rinse off my stencil and my palette knife. In this case, I would have needed to start with my box piece first because I added this paste and then it could already be drying while I was coloring, but I didn't thought about using the stencil until I started with my box. So now I had to wait really long before I could continue with anything. So I think I waited like half a day. It wasn't needed half a day, but yeah, I just blended a lot of things in between so that it had enough time to dry, and that's really important. I'm also making sure that there isn't any paste overhanging the edges. And then I will lay it aside to dry and come back to it later. So everything is dry now, and I'm going to do something that I have never done before. I'm going to use these inside pieces from the box and I'm going to directly cut a stitched hillside border, and this way I will have some different shapes inside of the box as well. And I will be placing some images lower than the front and some higher, but this was like an idea that I had that might work as well, and it did, so I'm happy that I did this. So I'm just creasing that a bit more. And then I am going to start assembling my box. So for my box, I prefer having those things that I'm doing right now to be inside of the box. I don't want it to show on the outside. So I am adding my adhesive on the outside of my box to have it placed inside. You see? And then I prefer creasing it with my ball folder. Then adding these pieces on the inside. Because when you add like it on one side and you fold over the completed box, you can adhere it perfectly on the other side of the box. So here I'm first adding my two inside pieces. Using some score tape, I think this is really sturdy, and I prefer using that for a box. So lining everything up. With the wave that I created, it wasn't that easy, but it worked out fine. So now I'm adding my score tape on the other side, and I'm going to remove the backings and then fold my box closed. Like this. And this way it will be adhered perfectly. The spacing is now the same as with the other side. And then I'm folding my box closed, and that's it. Folding over those flaps, and then it's time to decorate. So I'm going to try to get everything shown. It's not always easy when you're creating a box to keep everything underneath my camera, but I'm trying. So I am not using any foams for boxes. I always use liquid glue to adhere everything flat. A box already is quite thick. If you're using some foam squares, it can really get bulked through mailing, so I don't want that to happen. So I'm just figuring out which scenes I'm going to create on my box, and then I will start adhering everything. So for the flaps I also die cut these panels, and I'm going to use the front to add a sentiment and my reindeer. And then on the side I will just use those tiny panels to add a bit of more details. Going to stamp some snowflakes on there, heat emboss it and do some embossed resist ink blending. So here I am trying to figure out where I can place the sentiment, making sure that the reindeer will still fit onto my panel. And I'm going to stamp it out using the same ink as for my images, being the Gina K Designs Amalgam ink. So now onto my other two panels. I'm going to stamp out two types of snowflakes over these ones, mostly on the top, because I want some gradient when I'm going to ink blend, and otherwise you wouldn't see anything of those snowflakes when they are at the bottom. And for the embossing powder I am using the Ranger embossing powder clear super fine detail. Now it's time to do some ink blending. So as I said before, I'm going to do some gradient ink blending with the peacock feathers, and this way you will start seeing those snowflakes that I've stamped out and heat embossed. And then just to match those side flaps, I'm also going to ink blend a bit onto the panel with my sentiments. So now my box is ready, and something that I find really handy is to have some sort of a panel where you can write your names on, and then later on when everyone has their names on it, that you can just adhere it on the back of the box. So here I have die cut a panel, and I'm just using the same inks as on my box, and then I will add that tiny penguin that I have left over. But first I'm adding some score tape, and I'm doing that on the back. So this way everyone can write its name. Everyone's name is on there. You just remove the backings, and then you add this adorable panel on the back like this onto your box. And then everyone knows that it's from you, and it's in a fun way. You didn't have any difficulties with writing your name on there. That's just really handy. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to check out the video of Julia. I will link to her down below. If you have any questions, you can always leave it there as well. And I am hoping to see you back next time. Bye!